Yes, I'm rich. Did y'all know I was rich? Like, frankincense used to be more expensive than gold. Look at this magic. Look at this. Look at this. Oh my God. Okay, sorry. Sorry, I know how I feel about removing oils. Okay, so in this video, I'm going to be debunking the myths that Americans have about Africans. This is a really important video, okay? Because I'm tired of hearing about this bullshit that we be saying about Africans. One myth that Americans have about Africans is that Africans don't go nowhere. Like, Africans don't travel. I hate to bust y'all's bubble, but Africans actually travel more than we do. Africans travel more than Americans do. Yes, when we're talking about traveling abroad, yes, Africans got us beat by like a million, dead ass. First of all, we are lucky as Black Americans if we even have someone that lives outside of our country. Most of the time, we don't have friends and family that live outside of our country. So where and why would we even be doing so much traveling? It doesn't happen. Africans always have someone. I truly believe that every single African on this continent has a family member and a friend that lives outside of Africa, for sure. Okay? These folks be traveling. It is very common for them to have passports. It's very normal for them to have passports. Even an African that doesn't have much money, they will have a passport. For us, we only get our passports once we are into our adulthood and if we decide that we want to travel. It's a totally different ball game. For them, they're getting their passports at birth. They're getting their passports really young. Their parents are getting their passports for them whether they're traveling or not. All right? Africans travel, y'all. They always have, first of all, Africans have more friends and family in our country, in America, than we have on their continent, in their countries. Does that make sense? So they're even traveling more to America than we are traveling to Africa. Like, that's how much Africans are traveling. They always have some family members in Portugal, in Italy, in Jamaica somewhere, in Europe somewhere. They literally go back and forth. A lot of times they have one parent that lives in France or something like that. Africans have they establish a lot of homes all over the world. There is a presence of Africans in America, which we know. There's a presence of Africa in Europe, in places in Paris. There's a presence of Africans. Why am I not able to say this?
Have you ever had a dream that you had you could do so you want.
There is a presence of Africans in places like Brazil and Mexico and stuff. So you will definitely see Africans everywhere. You do not see big groups of Americans everywhere. You just don't. So Africans travel. They get around way more than we do. Okay? Africans don't like Americans. Oh my God. This right here, this myth right here be getting me. The reason why this myth really grinds my gears is because if anybody has a dislike or a prejudice about anybody, it's us. I'm just gonna say it. It's us. And now I'm not saying that there aren't any Africans that have a certain thing about Americans or Black Americans. There are some Africans that feel a certain way about us. There are little though. It's not that many. We grew up making fun of Africans. As Americans, we grew up calling each other African booty scratcher and other really ignorant names that have to do with being African. They don't have names like that. They don't have names that they call each other that mean that you're an American when they're trying to diss each other. They didn't grow up like that. This was back in the 70s and 80s when we was doing this. So our roots in our hate for Africans, I don't mean hate as in like, oh, we want to, do this to you. I mean that we really do have a, how do I say this? Not even like a dislike, but we do have a, I don't want to use the word prejudice because I just used that word. But we have a judgment. We do have a negative judgment on Africans, for sure. It's only in recent years that we have been wearing our dashikis.
You don't find that suspicious? You don't find that suspicious? You don't find that suspicious?
That people have been awakening, and we've been talking about melanin, that we have made it a cool thing to be connected to Africa. But before, just 8 years ago, it wasn't none of that. We wasn't doing none of that. So, not as a collective, maybe in little spots in Brooklyn, in New York and stuff, but as a country, as a whole, we were not embracing Africa before. So if anybody has a dislike about anybody when we compare ourselves to Africans, it's not Africans, it's us. It's most definitely us. Also, let's remember who the enemy is in this. Because when I decided to move to Senegal, I remember doing the big chop and trying to cover it up. That's a whole nother story. And the lady that was helping me to cover it up, the lady that was braiding my hair, was a Senegalese woman. And she told me that when she got to America, they had her at the embassy and they showed her a video of Black Americans fighting and doing all kind of crazy stuff. And they told her and her family, do not hang with the Black Americans. So if we're going to talk about any prejudiceness or any dislike that Africans have, honestly, if they do have any of that, let me say this, when they do, when the small group of Africans have a certain way that they feel about us, the ones who live in Africa, it is because of the media and it's because of what the American government has told them about us, okay? Now, let me also say this. The reason why I was specific about the Africans that live here is because I feel like there's a different energy from the Africans that live here and that have only been here versus the Africans that live in America, that live amongst us in America. There's definitely a different vibe when it comes to that because they're seeing things firsthand. They also have probably been stopped at the embassy when they first got there too, but then they're seeing things firsthand, they're having the experience firsthand. So I believe that when Americans say that Africans don't like us, we're not going off of the Africans who live in Africa. I believe that we're going off of the Africans that we meet in America and that feel some kind of way about us. Those Africans, a lot of those Africans who live in America do feel some kind of way about us. Not all of them, of course. Lots of them love us just the same. But a lot of them don't. A lot of them do feel some kind of way, and that's based off of their own personal experience. I've been told, because I've had African friends that grew up in America when I was in America, and I've been told that they were. Merci. Ooh, you're sweating. I get some. Oh, merci. Merci. So, let me not eat while I'm in the video. I'm so hungry. Hold on. Oh yeah, I'm hungry. Look at these fries my kids made. It's some real chefs. It's perfectly seasoned. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm so hungry. Let me just get a couple fries out, okay? You know they do not be seasoning their fries here.
What?
They do not be putting seasoning on their fries here.
We don't do that here.
Bro, what are you talking about?
Don't even get me started. It be making me mad. But they do not know that you can season fries and your whole world could be different. This is my last one. Swear to God. Hallelujah. Okay. Okay. What was I saying? Okay, right. So that's how I can't speak on the Africans that's been living in America. I don't know about them too much, and that's something that y'all got going on. Okay, that's how I feel about that. But for the Americans who believe that Africans over here don't welcome us and that they don't like us, it couldn't be any further from the truth. I cannot express how good I feel when an African tells me that they are proud of me for moving here. When an African, I've had elders stop me in the streets to tell me that I am not from America, I am from Africa. Okay? I've had elders stop me and say, "Where are you from?" And I would say, "I'm from America." This has happened to me like 3 times, dead ass. And they would be like, "No, you from Africa. You from here." Ooh, when I tell you, I get so much chills just thinking about that experience. And I've had young people tell me the same thing. I've had young people tell me, "I'm so proud of you. Like, look, you brought your family here. Like, how amazing." So Africans most definitely welcome us here. Okay, guys? Don't go off of the experiences that Africans and African Americans have in America. I feel like we have a different experience, and I won't even get into that. But the ones who are here, they welcome us. They're happy that we're here, and yeah, and they want us to come home. At least most of them do, for sure. Another one is Africans are dirty. Africans are dirty. They don't clean themselves. Oh my God, they so dirty. I do not know where this came from. Like, I don't know. Like, it's kind of bothersome. Let me tell you why it bothers me. It bothers me because I'm a historian, okay? I'm a self-proclaimed historian. It bothers me because there were Africans like the Moors who moved to Europe, and I mean, this is like 800 BC and shit, and established for the Europeans how to separate their animals from themselves, how to take baths, how to clean up their homes. Like, this is something that Africans actually assisted with outsiders, like with other people, on how to be clean. So the history of our cleanliness as African people, it's very evident. Like, it's so not cool for us to be assuming that Africans are dirty when Africans started cleanliness. Like, the fuck? Like, I'm offended. I'm not even African. Like, I'm offended that we have the nerve to develop such a stereotype for them, and we couldn't be any further than the truth. If anybody is dirty, and I love us, if anybody is dirty, it's us. It's us, y'all. If anybody is dirty, it is us, y'all. Let me tell you why. Because in America, we think it's normal, or we think that it's sanitary to put our shoes on the carpet. We think it's sanitary to bring our shoes throughout the house. Some of y'all don't do this. Some of y'all, practice taking your shoes off at the door. But the majority of us don't do that. And when you really think about it, if you even research the science to all the things that we bring from the outside into our homes while we walk through our homes with our shoes on, you would literally pull your carpet up or move if you knew how many things you drag into your house by bringing your shoes all throughout your house and on your carpet. Now, for me, I used to be that person. I think maybe, like, if I would first move into a house, I probably would try to establish us not having shoes in the house. I feel like I remember that. But it wasn't a norm for me to take your shoes off. That's not a norm for us in America. We don't do that. That's not a cultural thing for us. So now that I have been doing that for 3 years, and when I go back to the States, or when I look at videos and I see us walking around with our shoes on the carpet, it's the nastiest thing. It's like, it's almost like putting a car in a house on the carpet. Like, that's how much it doesn't actually make sense. Like, that's how weird it is to me now to see us walking with our shoes on the carpet. It is so unsanitary. It's so nasty. And I remember in America watching like a video, I don't know if it was like Dr. Oz or something, and they were talking about, they were showing how much bacteria and how much nastiness and, things that we track from outside into our homes. But I think that might have been a time that I was trying to establish that. But because it's not a normal cultural thing, and I didn't grow up doing it, I wasn't always able to, keep us on it. But here in Africa, I think all of Africa, I think the entire continent, they are taking their shoes off before they enter your home. It is a very common thing. It's very rare for people to just walk throughout the house if they don't have house shoes on. So, no, that's freaking crazy for us to even, I don't even know if white people came up with that. Like, who came up with that? Like, because, they always trying to, like, make it seem like we not doing something that we taught them to do. In history, I'm going off of real history. So, I don't know if that's where that came from, if it was like a European thing that they wanted to put on Africans, but please, let's get over that. When it comes to how they wash their hands, if it's a Muslim country in Africa, they're washing their hands five times a day. They're washing their hands, their face, and their feet 5 times a day. Come on. Like, you can't be looked at as dirty people when you're washing your hands that many times throughout the day. Like, I don't know where these stereotypes came from, but I'm here to bust them down right now, okay? Even the way they wash their clothes, is more sanitary. It's with their hands. They're really getting the clothes washed. We're putting the clothes in a mechanical thing that's not doing any kind of scrubbing. There's no pressure applied. Our shit is just being soaked and spinned. Okay? Our clothes are being soaked in water and soap and spinned, and we're calling us the cleanest people. These people are spinning, twisting, scrubbing, doing all of this stuff with their clothes, and then letting the sun dry them. Like, come on. We can't be out here thinking Africans are dirty people. We just can't. We gotta stop that today. Okay? Africans are dumb. I don't know where this came from. I don't know where, like, I know that in Africa, there is a lack of education resources, very similar to how it is in the hood for us, because if you go to the hood in America, we might have a building there established, but it's going to have them prison lights. They've taken away the playgrounds. We're not having extracurricular activities. We are not being educated. So honestly, it's very similar to that in a lot of places here in Africa when it comes to education. But Africans are so smart. Like, I'm so surprised that we have this, because when it comes to their schooling, when it comes to how they do their schooling, they don't play. Like, they're not playing around with being educated and with getting to the next level. Education for Africans is it's a thing. Like, it's a thing. They be like really going for the college thing and going to be, they want their parents are putting pressure on them to be the highest ranking in the class and stuff. Like, we don't even do that no more. Like, in America, it's just like whatever. Like, like, it's not even a big thing for us. So one thing I know is a difference in our education system in theirs is that when they do have an established school, the children really are learning there, guys. Like, the kids are not just playing around. In America, you can't tell me I'm lying because I went through the school system. It's the reason I homeschool my kids. And I know for a fact I graduated at the top of my class and I didn't do shit the whole time. Okay? Don't even get me started on how you can play the system because they playing you, and they will let you pass if you're a good student, if you look good, if you're an athlete. They'll just let you pass without knowing anything. So, it's not the same thing here. If you try to take your kids from an American school system and put them here, especially if they're in like middle school or high school, you better hope they're ready, because they're really doing the work there, like here. They're really doing work here. Like, they actually have to do their work, have to do their work here. In America, kids don't have to do their work. Not in most of the schools, not in at least half of the public schools, dead ass. So let's knock that myth down, okay? Africans are not dumb. All Africans are desperate. African men, African women are desperate. Let's knock that down right now too, okay? I will say that the culture, I said this in my other video, there's a lot of Africans that do approach relationships in a desperate way. All right, I'm gonna keep it real. A lot of Africans do approach relationships really rushing, really like just, oh my God, I'm in love, da, 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 da. A lot of them do. I'm being very, very specific with my words. I'm saying a lot, and I'm not just saying Africans do, because it's not just an African thing. There are plenty of Africans that do not move like that. I have ran into plenty of men. I have lots of African friends, both men and women, that do not move like that. They move the same way that a lot of us do, and they don't rush into relationships. They don't want to marry you right away. They don't want to be with you until they know you. Most definitely, there's plenty of Africans here that are not desperate, that are not coming from a desperate place, or I know some of y'all are about to be offended. Y'all be trying to act like all Africans want to do is get married and be faithful. Stop that bullshit. That's not the truth. Like, maybe way back then or something, and even then they were still cheating on their wives and stuff, but stop trying to like unhumanize people. People are still human. So I don't care what religion you belong to or what, like, people are not just because the culture is about getting married, it doesn't, like, marriage, like, someone that wants to get married doesn't equal righteousness. It doesn't equal faithfulness. It doesn't mean that that person is a good man or a good woman just because they want to get married. So yes, they are driven, and it can come off as desperate, and it also can be desperate because the culture is about marriage, but it doesn't mean that it's all of them, and that does not mean that, oh my God, this is where my husband is, oh my God, I'm gonna, let's get married, and it's gonna be a healthy thing. It doesn't mean that, all right? So I hope that makes sense. I kind of went left a little bit, but I just be tired of y'all coming in these comments trying to try to be like, oh, well, it's because of their religion, or it's because they're Africans. Like, as much as I love Africans here, we're not gonna do that. People are human. Like, there is no, like, righteousness is not based on what you believe in or gender specific. It's about characteristics, okay? It's about personality, traits, morals, values in your life, okay? It doesn't have to do with the culture or, how you grew up or what religion that you belong to. So let's not do that, but let's also know that not all Africans are desperate, and there are people here that do not want to be with you right away, okay? There's men here that you will end up chasing because they're not rushing into a relationship, okay? And lastly, Africans are poor. The myth of Africans being poor. This one is crazy, but I understand. Because Americans, the American government specifically, has done a really good job with painting this picture of Africa. And I actually found out that it's not even just the American government, the European government, lots of places do a really good job with painting the picture that Africans are poor. Let's be clear. Africans are not poor. Africa is not poor. This is actually the richest land in the entire world, okay? The highest elevated, richest land in the entire world with the most riches of the world, the most resources is Africa. It is impossible for Africa to be poor, for Africans to be poor. Now, are there poor people here? Are there people that are in poverty? Of course. Just like there are in America. Just like there are people that are going hungry in America. I remember posting statistics on people in LA that were missing meals every day. Children that were not eating. And this was back in 2013. I remember posting statistics about, like, these numbers and how come we're in this fully developed country. Why are we in Hollywood and there's so many thousands of children a day that are missing meals because they're in poverty? are so many Africans whose money is longer than what you've ever seen. There are so many rich Africans. There are so many Africans that are so well off that you haven't even known someone who known someone to have the money that they have. Okay? You don't even got a friend that got a friend that got a friend that is established the way some of these Africans are established. Okay? They got money. Money be long, okay? They be having riches in not just their paper money currency, also in gold, in different jewelry, in oil, in different resources. People are rich here. Like, they really do be out here living like kings and queens with the money. I'm living like a queen without the money, without all the riches yet, okay? So they be out here living like that with all the stops, okay? Huge houses, huge, what do you call them? What you call them things? Not condos. Okay, this make me mad. Compound. Huge compounds, houses that look like palaces, indoor pools. I mean, you name it, Africans have it. So please don't go with that notion that Africans are poor. Africa is not poor, and Africans are not poor. There are Africans that are in poverty, just as there are Americans that are in poverty. And even a lot of the Africans that are in poverty here still don't skip as many meals as we skip because the food don't cost that much. Okay? Okay, you guys. So that was my video breaking down African myths. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments if you agree or you disagree. If you disagree, I really don't give a damn. But if you disagree, that's cool. I love you for the same. I hope that you really enjoyed this video. If you could like, if you could share this video, if it seems helpful, if you felt this video. Until next time, I love you guys. I'll talk to you later. Thank you for rolling with a sister.
I see you in the moonlight dancing, yeah. Only need one chance, girl, right here. One night stand, please don't have fear.